Welcome to Art Schools Network No More webinar series. We're bringing you vital topics and information to help art schools do their jobs better. Today's spotlight is on KQED Art School, and our guest speaker is Kristen Farr. She's the Arts Education Project Manager and Art School Producer of KQED Art School. I'm Christy Calloway, your host, the Executive Director of Art Schools Network. If you have any questions during this webinar, please use the chat box and we'll respond to them as soon as possible. If you are not able to stay with us through this entire webinar, this recording will be available along with the PowerPoint on our website within 24 hours. Who are we? Art Schools Network is a group of leaders in schools and organizations from around the world, but mostly the United States and Canada. And we're made up of mostly high schools, but we also represent K through 8, college, and partner organizations. We're pretty much all over the United States, as you can see, but we're always looking for members in those gray states. Today we're looking at KQED and what they can provide to our membership. They have an amazing website that has all kinds of online interviews and how-to videos regarding visual arts. Our guest speaker, as I mentioned, is Kristen Farr. She has quite an impressive resume. I just put a few things on this slide, but she earned an Emmy for this series in her region the very first season they were out. So it was a success out of the gate, and we're so tickled that she's here to share this with us. And in addition, Kristen, I'm going to say something about her Far Out app. She actually has created an iPhone art app, and I encourage everyone to check it out at the App Store. You can put stickers on photos, and it's just a lot of fun. Another way to interact with art and create. Kristen, tell us a little bit about KQED, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. I know that you've been a member for a couple of years, and you presented at our conference, but not everyone's had access to your resources. And since everything's free, there's absolutely no reason not to nail that home. Kristen, tell us a little bit about KQED Art School.
I will. Thanks for having me, Christy. I love being a part of Art Schools Network, and I really enjoyed the conference last year. So KQED is the PBS and NPR station in San Francisco. We're a public media station, and we have a really big education department, which kind of sets us apart from other stations around the nation. We have about 20 former educators who produce media content made specifically for classroom use, and then we also provide online and face-to-face professional development for educators about incorporating media into their classroom, which means both using and making your own media projects. And we cover arts, news, and science, and I'm the Arts Education Manager. So I really focus on both using and making media in the classroom, but also integrating contemporary art into teachers' curricula. So you probably read that while I was talking, but here's my argument for why you use media in the classroom, in the arts classroom, and I'm sure a lot of you do already use videos as a teaching text, but I really like it because it kind of provides a common experience for all students to watch the same thing. Obviously, it helps with media literacy development and helping students be critical viewers of media, which they're inundated with every day. And then it brings you into artist studios and allows you to sort of virtually meet these artists that students might not have a chance to meet in person. And then my hope is that it inspires students' own interest in working in creative fields. So Art School is a video series I started a few years ago because in the past, I had worked with documentaries on KQED about artists, but they were really made for a general audience. So they worked well, and they were great content, but I'd have to say to teachers, show this 2 minutes or show this 5 minutes. And I really wanted to make short, digestible videos that were a no-brainer for teachers to use in the classroom. So this is an overview of our series, Art School. Just a coincidence that it sounds a lot like Art Schools Network. So obviously this partnership was meant to be. We have career profiles of creative professionals in both, all three, visual, performing, and media arts. The videos come in a few different formats. So some of them are just artist profiles and interviews where they talk about their work, tell you how they became an artist, what their background is. And then a lot of times they'll do an additional video, which is a how-to. So they'll show you how to make paper or how to beatbox. Today we have a brand new video coming out this afternoon about street art sketching. So that talks a little bit about the foundation of lettering in street art and how you can use that to create abstract designs. Other how-tos we have are how to break dance, how to make a stencil, different things like that. And then our explainers, they kind of, I mean, I need a better term for that besides explainer, but that's the placeholder. And those are what you see here on the right in the Elements of Art videos. And those aren't featuring an artist, but they're talking about a broader concept or technique in the arts. So we have this Elements of Art series, which I'll talk more about later. And then, you know, we have just different formats where artists talk about just how they got their style. We really experiment and try to provide a wide variety of content. So all of these videos are free, free. That's what I like to emphasize. And we distribute mostly through YouTube, which I know is still blocked in some schools. So if you can't get it there, you can also get it through PBS Learning Media, which is another website I'll talk about later. Or you can download it for free on iTunes the same way that you would download your music. So if you go into the iTunes store and just type KQED Art School into the search bar, you'll find it there. And it's actually in a section of the iTunes store called iTunes University, iTunes U, which has tons of educational content.
I love that. I love that. I download stuff from there all the time.
Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that. So art school, I'm a former teacher. I taught art in 5th grade and at the pre-K level, and then also did some special classes in high schools and middle schools. So I'm pretty familiar with all the standards, and I'm also aligning the content with Common Core capacities, such as collaboration. We really emphasize artists' needs for collaboration. And then I'm also, you know, keeping an eye out for those national art standards that are coming out pretty soon, and I think some states are on the verge of adopting, so we'll continue to align with those standards as well in the future. So I just wanted to talk about a couple of our mini-series within the Art School collection. I'd say right now we have about 70 videos for you to choose from, so that should keep you busy for a while, and we release a new one every 2 weeks, generally every other Tuesday, although this week it's going to be Thursday. Anyway, so this is one of our mini-series called What's Your Style, and it's where artists talk about the 2 things that mash up to create their style. So Elizabeth Higgins O'Connor, you see her at the top and her sculpture there on the left, and Christy wanted me to be sure to tell you that those sculptures are 10 feet tall and made from recycled materials, and when you walk into a gallery full of 5 or 6 of these creatures, it's just really stunning and will really bowl you over. So you get to see a lot of Elizabeth's work in the video, and then she talks about 2 of her major inspirations, which are these kind of shanty towns or sort of DIY structures that you find in different places. And then Francisco Goya is another inspiration of hers. So she talks about those 2 things.
Oh, I could see that.
Yeah, and she even has like a donkey creature that looks a lot like some of his etchings, so it's really neat to see the connection. And the reason I came up with this series was because I went and did a mural, and there were a lot of college student volunteers, and they kept asking me, how did you get your style? And I couldn't really answer it, you know, it was hard to explain, so I went and asked all these other artists to answer the question and came up with some really neat stories about their work. So you see our punk rock quilter there at the bottom. His style is influenced by a punk rock aesthetic, and then also this sort of the medium of quilting and the G's Bend quilters, which a lot of you
yeah.
and they always use recycled clothes, and that's what he does too. So those are just 2 of the videos in the What's Your Style series, and there are actually 4 of them, so you can find them pretty easily on our website. All right, I'm going to talk like an auctioneer here because we're running out of time.
You're fine.
Okay, thanks. So here's another series on identity, and each of these artists focuses on cultural identity in a different way. There's actually a few more in this collection, but I just wanted to point out because I know a lot of teachers work with the theme of identity in artwork. So up there on the top you see a piece by Ranu Mukherjee, and hybrid film is a term that she invented, which are these sort of digital paintings that she creates, and she talks a lot about gender imbalance through these films. She's a really fascinating person. On the right, on the top, you see David Huffman, who we'll look at a little bit more of his artwork in a minute. He focuses on African American identity and what he calls a historical homelessness, and he sort of explores these ideas through iconic symbols such as basketballs and astronauts. And the story I always tell about this video is that you would think if you go to a park and film someone shooting hoops in an astronaut suit that you might draw a crowd. Well, that was not the case. People walked right by like they had seen this in the movies. So, but it's pretty fun to watch, and he's actually really amazing at basketball, and shoots a lot of three-pointers in the video. And then he also does a demonstration on abstracting everyday objects. On the bottom left there, you see Pakurek Orue. That's a photograph of his, and he does some documentary photography, and in his demonstration video, he shows you how to digitize actual film and turn it into digital files. On the right at the bottom is Sanaz Mazanani, and she does a lot of activist work as well as artwork that's inspired by Islamic ornamentation. So you can see her there working on this big mirrored sculpture, and then it also had a video component. So if you're working with social justice themes in your curricula, she'd be a really great one to use. And there are some
inspiration too from art. That's so neat.
Yeah, it's a really neat piece. So I wanted to let you know that we have an educator working group, and you are welcome to join us. We basically just keep in touch on a Google Plus group, and teachers talk about how they use Art School or other PBS Arts videos in the classroom, and they share ideas with both me and each other, and they suggest ideas for video, and I work with them on creating some of the videos, and then they also really give each other a lot of ideas. And like I said, they give me ideas because they do things that I never expected or would have anticipated. Like I see a lot of science teachers using our videos. We have the Elements of Art video on value, and a math teacher used that to teach ratio. So it's really mutually beneficial. So if you want to join us, the link is down there at the bottom, and this funny barcode you see on your screen, if you happen to have a QR code reader on your mobile device, you can just open the app and point your phone at this barcode, and it should scan it and take you directly to the website. But hopefully you can just click on that link later when Christy posts this presentation. And if you're not in middle or high school and you still want to join, you're definitely welcome to. We have a few elementary teachers. And even though KQED focuses on middle and high school, our arts content is really easy to scaffold towards elementary school, and I work with a lot of elementary teachers. So this is just an example of one of our artists, Jenny Odell. On the left you see the comments that a teacher made about using this in class. We get a lot of teachers starting discussions about what is art, which I really find fascinating, especially because we're working with contemporary art. There's been a lot of interesting discussions about, is this art, or how is this art? And I like to hear about that. So this artist is Jenny Odell. She's amazing. You can see her down there on the bottom at the left. She has a project called Travel by Approximation, where she made a travel log all through using Google Earth and Google Maps. So she took a basically fake road trip and created images by photoshopping herself into these.
That's awesome.
Really resonates with them because it uses these technologies in a really funny way. And then her how-to video is how to make a garbage selfie, which you see there on the right. She photographed her garbage every day for a week and then turned it into digital files and cut it out in Photoshop and made this garbage selfie, which I think you can do both physically and digitally, or by drawing it. There's a number of different ways to take this project, but she demonstrates how to do it in Photoshop. And what I love about this piece especially is that the shoulders, you see that's all kind of white colored packaging. She said most of that came from this huge computer monitor that she has. So, it's just kind of interesting to see how the packaging from one computer monitor could create much refuse. So that's Jenny. I definitely encourage you to check her out. And then this is David Huffman, the astronaut who I mentioned before. And he talks about his work and the topics that I mentioned before in relation to identity. And the basketball is really a core part of his work. And he draws it both realistically, like you can see there on the left, and abstractly, like you see on the right. He made this kind of pattern out of the basketball shape. And I also have to tell you that that image on the left also exists in real life. He's created a sculptural pyramid of actual basketballs, and it's super fascinating from a physics standpoint because the basketballs will stay in a pyramid form without glue. So you'll see images of that in the videos. So the link's again down there at the bottom if you want to check out David's videos. And then on the next page, we can see some examples of student work inspired by these videos. So the two pieces on the left go with the quote at the top, which I'll just read. My teacher that I work with, Todd, said he uses the David Huffman videos to have students think abstractly about their resumes. So I thought that was a really clever idea, and I like the artwork that it generated there on the left. I figured the student on the top left wants to be an artist because that looks like a Dali to me. And then I like the little iconic way that the student below represented her A-plus papers and her location, and I'm guessing the phone means she has good communication skills.
It's an old-fashioned phone. It's so funny.
I know. How do they even know what that looks like?
And I love the trucks. It reminds me of Donald Cruz, the children's illustrator.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then on the right, David does a how-to video about abstracting everyday objects. So he just quickly sets up a lesson idea where you take one object that's meaningful to you and render it 3 different ways. So his how-to video is kind of a catalyst for this project. And the reason I split them up into 2 videos is just to give teachers a choice whether they want students to watch both, whether they want to just use the how-to. People use it in a number of different ways. So our by far most popular series is the Elements of Visual Art. It's made up of 7 different videos, 1 for each element of art. And I think why these are really popular with teachers is because the artwork that we show is from a really diverse range of artists. And we focus on one type of art form for each element. So like shape is about still life paintings, and form is about trompe l'oeil artwork. And we really just kind of explain and show examples of each of these elements. So the 7 elements of visual art is 7 different videos, and then on the right you see the elements of dance, which is actually combined all into one video, but we're hoping to expand these series more into the performing arts. And our visual arts series has been so incredibly popular that I worked with 2 teachers to make an ebook, and you're really the first people I'm presenting this link to. So if you could check it out there at the bottom, I'd love to hear your feedback on what you think, because we mostly just create video content to inspire lessons, but this time I worked with 2 teachers to create both a studio art and a digital art lesson for each chapter. And that's all online, and there are different like scavenger hunts and activities that students can do after watching the video and doing their projects. So that's your sneak peek. You're the first to see it. So these are just a couple examples of student work inspired by the Elements of Art series. On the left, you see several blind contour drawings inspired by our line video. And these are all done by one student. She got so fascinated by the expressive nature of line work that she has just done blind contour drawings constantly, and her teacher is really trying to honor that and put them on display, and she even made a little video of the student talking about her work. And then on the right is not actually student work. It's from a photo scavenger hunt that was done in a science class inspired by the color video. And I love this picture because A, it's really beautiful, and B, it is the central nervous system of a fruit fly. So if you didn't know what that looked like, it looks like Jackson Pollock. So these are just a couple examples of how art and science teachers use these videos in different ways. And then Amy Franceschini is an amazing artist that we've featured. She does 2 pieces, and this was actually a collaboration with SF MoMA that we did because Amy is in their collection.
Wow.
So her first video is about her social practice art, and the drawing you see down there at the bottom on the left is an example of one of her social practice activities. So she's really into urban gardening and urban farming, and she tries to help people, you know, grow things even if they have to use their fire escape as their outdoor area. And so she created something called the Soup for Soil Kitchen, where people, I think this was in Philadelphia, and people could come in, bring a soil sample from their backyard, and have it tested. And Amy and her colleagues would tell them what kinds of things would grow well in their particular type of soil. And while they had their soil tested, it takes a little while, they got a bowl of free soup. So it was a really interesting project and something that really confused the community and brought a lot of people together and started a dialogue about farming in urban environments. So I think she's kind of a superhero herself. And then we created this little stop motion video of her introducing a superhero project where you identify a problem in your community and then invent a superhero to solve it. So you see a student there on the right participating in this project. Again, this was in a science classroom, and the students identified issues that science could fix, potentially, such as climate change. A lot of them also focused on mental health issues. We've seen a lot of students creating superheroes to help with cyberbullying. So it's been, you know, sometimes it's really difficult to see the kinds of issues these students are facing, but it's nice to give them the opportunity to kind of talk about those and think of ways to solve them. And if you do the entire project, it culminates in the student dressing up in a superhero costume and actually performing an action in the community to help solve this problem. So, for example, one of this teacher's students identified stress as a problem with her peer group, and so she led a yoga class at school to kind of help with the stress level. So that's just one example, and the students get really creative and I think feel empowered by this project. So when teachers do these projects, we often have them write it up on our blog. So we have this blog for teachers by teachers, and it's just kqed.org/education. You can find it on our drop-down menu. It's called In the Classroom. So you can find Art School and tons more PBS videos made for a classroom and vetted by teachers on pbslearningmedia.org. You can also find Art School on our website, kqed.org/artschool, but PBS Learning Media is just a great library of resources for teachers. There's interactive games, tons of videos, lesson plans, all kinds of public media content that can be used as a text for teaching, essentially. So I definitely encourage you to check that out. And the best part is you can browse by standard, you can browse by language, grade, subject, type of media, and lots of teachers vet this content. So you can bet that you'll find useful things while you're in there. And it's, Christy, you said you've used it before, right?
Yeah, I just think it's so cool that it's all free and it's standards-based, and there's so many examples. It's contemporary, just like, for example, on the screen there of a terrorism issue, and giving students an opportunity to even surface what their issues are. We assume we know what they are, and it's just such beautiful material. I can't believe the access to the contemporary artists you have, and I'm looking forward to the activism one coming up soon, or political one, I think you mentioned.
Oh yeah, thanks for bringing that up. We have a video coming out probably within the next month called 5 Steps to Making Your Own Political Art, and we're hoping that students will make art and share it with each other online. So I'll be sure to let you know when that comes out, and you can find it on our website. And if you join our working group, I always post when we have a new video on there.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you so much. Are there any closing words you have, Miss Kristen?
There's my closing words there on the screen, just a bunch of links. Feel free to email me anytime. My email's there at the bottom. Part of my job is to just sit at my computer and wait for teachers to email me. So I'm at your service. If you're looking for a video on underwater basket weaving, I'm your girl. So feel free to anytime.
It's great that you actually were a visual arts teacher in the classroom, and then you're a sculptress, and you're an app producer, and you produce these videos. You have such range. You're a Renaissance woman, and we're so grateful that you shared some of that with us today. Again, people like Kristen Farr and KQED Art School are going to be at our Dallas conference, so we hope that you'll save those dates. There's more information on our website. If you have an idea for a webinar, please send them to me, and I'm happy to vet them out with you and plan something exciting for our membership. I hope everyone has a happy St. Patrick's Day, and you too, Ms. Farr.
Thank you.